Hi, this is Ethan, and welcome back for the second development log for my game Confluence. I want to talk this time a little bit about the animation tips I've picked up, and hopefully that can help some other people out there. There are many different types of animation. This time I'm going to focus on character animation, and that can be quite a bit different than animating for special effects, especially when it comes to line quality, and it presents its own challenges. You can animate characters from one frame to the next without keys if you don't need a lot of detail, but for this video I'm going to focus on keyframe animation. So you start off with these rough keys, and this is to get the timing, and once you have the timing right, you fill in those keys and then you add all the frames in between and you get a nice smooth motion. So I started this process again with this next animation, and I even went a little further. I did separate betweens for the clothes, the body, the skull, and the hair. I noticed a few key sticking points that, once I found solutions to them, made the whole animating process a lot more fun. Okay, so we have an empty Photoshop document, and if you don't see the video timeline below, just select it from the window menu. So before we get started, there are some shortcuts that most people use all the time: the lasso, pen, brush, the rectangular select, eraser, and move, and those are going to be 90% of your shortcuts. And then of course you have the sort of second tier of shortcuts, altering the hue, saturation, zooming in and out, selecting layers, saving, adjusting the levels, and filling. Then you have the magic wand, the brush size keys, and the gradient key, which is also the fill tool. Okay, so we're gonna lighten that layer up a little bit, and we're almost ready. But there's some special animation shortcuts for moving around the timeline. But Photoshop unfortunately doesn't have default shortcuts for some of these really useful functions, but you can set your own. So you go to the Edit menu, Keyboard Shortcuts, and then a panel will pop up, and the top left will say Shortcuts for. Just select the appropriate menu. And of course, don't forget Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Backspace-G for Godzilla. Alright, so we are going to set the timeline frame rate first. That's important. Photoshop gets a little confused if you create a video layer and then change the frame rate later. So you see we've created another video layer, and I can draw something and I advance a frame, and that's blank. So I can draw a nice little diamond shape here. So we have 2 frames. That's not really much of an animation. So we want to get a frame or several frames in between those. So I just duplicated that previous frame. So I'm going to try to get in between these. I'm going to try to get something halfway between a circle and a diamond. That first attempt didn't quite work, so let's try again. Okay, well that's not that bad, but it's still not very good either. And this is where my first tip comes in. And that's to separate object transformations from the movement. So if you grab that diamond shape and put it on top of the circle, suddenly, if you only focus on transforming the shapes, it's much easier. With a circle and a diamond, the transformation is not too hard. But when you're changing the angle of a face or a hand, that can come in very useful. Alright, so we have a nice little morphing animation there. And now all we have to do is work on the movement. So we can create a layer on top as a little guide and draw a little mark for each spot where we want the center of the object to be. There is our little animation. Okay, so now we want to add some color. So you might be tempted to grab the fill tool and just go to town. And things look okay until you look in closely and you can see that there's a very small gap between the lines and the fill, and that doesn't look very good. Luckily, there's a solution to this, and it's actually faster and better than this way. So let's make Photoshop do most of the work. you'll need two video layers, one for your lines and one for your colors. And you'll need the actions panel open and something selected. So let's create a new action now. Let's call it fill layer below. And I'm going to assign it a shortcut key so we can use it very easily. Okay, so you can see that the actions are now recording, and the first thing we're going to do is expand the selection. After that, we're going to move to the layer below and use the shortcut keys for this and fill in the selection. Then we're going to deselect everything and move back up to the layer we started on and advance one frame forward. And then you can stop recording. All you have to do is hit the function key and Photoshop will automatically reproduce all of those steps. So you can see how quickly I can fill in those frames with color. This isn't always perfect. You will have to go back and make some adjustments on finely detailed drawings, but it works pretty well. So let's take a look at another situation that causes some trouble. Okay, so this is what I call the Wibble Wobble problem. You're drawing, and because you're animating, you have to draw slow, so your lines have this wibble wobble look to them. So one of the solutions is to use the pen tool. You can use the pen tool to get a very precise shape, and then you can stroke the path you've created using the brush tool like this. Or you can use a tool like Lazy Nezumi to smooth out your lines. You can see very nice smooth lines there. This is a situation where you can use both. So you can see I have my character there, and I'm struggling a lot to get this line to go correctly. And oh, let's try one more time. Oh, it's not quite. Okay, well, let's keep trying. And oh, missed again. Okay, I give up. So now you can use the pen tool when you need extreme precision, together with Lazy Nezumi for more natural drawing, and it works quite well. So you just stroke with the brush, and there you go. Here's another difficult situation. So sometimes with the onion skin on, it's hard to tell which lines you actually want to draw between. So similar to our guiding layer, we can just copy the lines that we want to, use another color, copy that line, and now it's very simple to know which line we're working with. You can break down problems, and that makes everything much easier for you. So thanks for watching. I hope some of these tips have been helpful. My next video is going to focus on shaders, which is a little bit more programming than the other videos so far, but it shouldn't be too hard if you don't have a programming background. If you have any questions, just leave them below. And thank you to everyone who subscribed. If you're interested, you can hit the subscription button. Thanks, and hope you have a nice day.